Welcome to the Walk Around podcast. Our goal is to share with you the insights, the skills, the processes, and the leaders that are influencing the retail automotive landscape today. I'm one of your hosts, Nick Funch, and as always, joined by Danny Vendrell and our guest today, TJ Prayner from Volvo. Hello, Danny.
How's it going, Nick?
It's going good. Welcome, TJ.
Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. We're especially glad about some of the sight lines you bring to the automotive space. But I guess before we get into it, a little background about TJ. He spent the past 15 years in the automotive industry solely focused around the Volvo brand. He currently serves as the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Volvo Car Financial Services. Leading up to his current role, TJ held field roles for both Volvo Cars and Volvo Cars Financial Services, interacting on a day-to-day basis with Volvo retailers. Prior to joining Volvo corporately, he spent several years at Volvo retailers in Chicago, Illinois, holding various roles within the dealership. F&I has been an area of expertise for TJ. I know that personally, and he enjoys every aspect of the space. Making all of this possible is the love and support of his wife, Jill, for the past 12 years, and their two amazing boys, Anderson and Beckett. Let's take a walk around automotive with TJ. So TJ, we were talking briefly before we got started, and I guess it's probably a good jumping off point. But talk to me about how you feel about digital retailing. I'm curious about the term digital retailing, what that means to you.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. It's been a buzzword for quite some time. Obviously, the impacts of COVID have escalated and elevated that quite a bit. But from my space, I just see it not as digital retailing, but it's just retailing. It's just the new way to buy cars, to browse and research F&I products, schedule service, you name it. It's what the consumers have been doing on so many other channels and levels, and we're just now into the game. And it's just, at the end of it, it's just a way to retail a car.
Well, I think it's table stakes these days. Danny, what are your thoughts there when you think about digital retailing?
Yeah, I always think about, it's consistent with the way that consumers are experiencing the rest of the world around them, right? So anything that you want to do at this point, you can pretty much do online. And like you said, TJ, it's heightened by kind of what's happened in the world this year with COVID, but I can pretty much do anything that I want to, not have to talk to a person, not have to show my face, and purchase anything that I want at any time. And so I think you're totally right. Digital retailing is just retailing. That's kind of the world we live in.
Yes, it's interesting. It's almost as if having to talk to somebody has entered or added a friction point to the process all of a sudden. So those that can capitalize on it, the fastest, the best, and the quickest are obviously winning today.
So taking you back a little bit, one of the things that I think is really cool is your experience in the retail space. And
Sure.
It seems that the industry is evolving quicker, faster daily. But when you think back to those days, what has potentially surprised you the most around where we were as an industry, kind of standard
Sure.
dealers, to where we are? And what do you see as some opportunities where maybe we're a little slow to that the industry could navigate towards?
Yeah, good question. I think what is most interesting when either visiting retailers or talking through different processes at the retailer level, it's amazing. I've been removed from the retail space since 2012. It's just funny how some of the things are still the same. They haven't really evolved. You have those front runners in the industry and specifically within our network that have really taken to task the F&I space and elevated it, changed it, brought it online. use of iPads, digital contracting, e-signatures. I need to be careful because some of those things we don't have yet. So some of that is on my shoulders still, but it's interesting that in this evolution, there are still quite a few dealers still doing it the same way, and it's sometimes at the expense of a good customer experience today, at the expense of additional profits that are just left on the table.
And how does Volvo, I guess, historically their brand is very customer centric, right? When I think of Volvo, I think of customer centricity, I think of reliability, I think of safety. Like those are some of the terms that come to mind. So how is Volvo helping to kind of prepare its dealer body through this transition from some of those old processes, knowing that there's a bell curve of dealers that, some are going to hold on as long as possible and some are going to be more progressive? What are the things that you're doing to help kind of pull everyone along no matter where they're at?
Yeah, there's some good aspects that have come through it. We are of course trying to make it as frictionless as possible, and through the retailer network, partnering with our retailers to get us to that point. And really, we take a holistic approach when we look at an opportunity. And I'll touch on our Volvo On-Call app. That is our mobile-based app that is just changing so rapidly every month with different integrations. We can now send a valet car out to your house, pick up your car, have it come back in, and that's all managed by the dealer through that app. We in the F&I space are looking to integrate and have that functionality within that application as well, for our customers to directly access their VCFS account, eventually just get into a new lease or loan, and browse F&I products as well. So, our main goal is to be where the customer is and wants to be. And that's really where our focus is.
What kind of feedback have you guys been getting from those car buyers as you've rolled these things out, and from those dealers who are further along, like Nick said, on that bell curve? Yeah,
the customer satisfaction is through the roof. Customers love it. They want it. The dealers that have jumped on board first are those first movers in the industry. They're willing to try something new. And most importantly, they're willing to commit to that process and that investment into those processes. And it has just been so inspiring to see the reaction from the consumers, which then also translates to very happy retailers, which makes us very happy. So it's been a tremendous success, and of course that will continue to evolve and grow, but major improvements in the customer satisfaction.
There's a lot of, I think, technology that's trying to solve for some of the friction associated with the transaction. And kind of what I'm hearing is that Volvo, through their app, is trying to create that ecosystem, because there's the transaction, the purchase, but then there's the ownership period. And
Sure.
How do you create all of those? How do you duplicate the experience, the frictionless experience, through the ownership period, impacting retention?
Yeah.
And so, are there things that you've done, your team's done, to help kind of outside of technology, potentially through products or other things, to help support that customer experience?
Yeah. So what we have looked to do over these last couple of years, and whether your audience knows it or not, but we are currently partnered with JM&A. They are the administrators to all of our branded products, our Volvo Increased Protection products. And really, when that partnership was cemented in 2017, we wanted to look at our F&I products that really weren't meeting the needs of our retailers or meeting the needs of our customers, blow them up and put them back together, and create more meaningful products, easier products for that customer to transact on and use and redeem throughout the life of their ownership. And that's really where the focus has been over the last couple of years, specifically with the F&I products, is give them an opportunity to have a product that supports how they use the car and drive them back to our retailer network, which I'm proud to say has a 100% redemption rate. They always go back to the originating dealer. So our retailers love it. It's good for them. The customers love it because it's a branded experience. And again, to use your word, we keep them in the Volvo ecosystem, that brand experience, because it is unique.
Yeah, and I'm certain that was probably one of the goals when you set out on kind of exploring a partnership for what those things could look like. But as maybe you sit in an interesting seat where you have visibility into kind of the financial side of it, and into the brand side of it, and how those two interact daily to support the retailers and support the customer. But as you begin to think and strategize around the future, there's a lot of exciting things on Volvo's plate around the corner, from electrification through Polestar and some of these other things. What kind of excites you about what's ahead?
For me, it's really the electrification strategy, getting to those milestones of having that customer base in an electrified car, the carbon. The carbon tracking of our vehicles throughout production, and really the sustainability of the planet. At the end of the day, all this is going to be irrelevant if there isn't a planet here to live on. And that's really where we put our stake in the ground, is that sustainability message. And the electrification plan and platform just follows through on that completely.
Danny, what are your thoughts, I think, on kind of as you think about Volvo and its position in the marketplace around kind of, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is consistent with what we've heard from other folks we've had on the pod, which is there's a level of evolution that's happening at every area, whether it be from the corporate side, whether it be on the dealership floor, whether it be the customer's expectations. There's evolution that's happening. It's been happening. And so what I'm curious about to hear from you, TJ, is I think there's, like we were talking about a little bit before, there's some early adopter dealers who are jumping into this, who are experiencing growth and a higher customer satisfaction due to potentially implementing new processes or implementing new technology that removes friction from the transaction. I think a big piece of that is mindset. Would you say that when you look at the dealers who are doing that and doing that well and are in that maybe early adopter category, anything that sticks out to you from a mindset perspective that, maybe I'm a dealer listening to this and I haven't really jumped in, or maybe I have a digital retailing tool, but we're not using it consistently? That advice from you and your perspective about mindset.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It completely comes down to the mindset. We've met with so many different vendors in the digital retailing space, e-commerce space, lead gen space, even our current platform providers. Just because the technology is there doesn't mean it's going to work. You have to invest in the process. You have to invest in the people. And most importantly, you have to invest in a new way of thinking. Because if you're going into a new world, new processes, new products or platforms with the old thinking, it's just not going to work. And there are retailers that we have worked with that have F&I products on their website. That was an initiative that we kicked off with Darwin last year, and working through that. Back to the mindset, it's just interesting to see how some of our retailers have taken the steps to put that information out there, which has been the biggest hesitation that we have from our retailers. Get the customer so far down in the funnel of acceptance, and then contact the dealer to finalize the purchase. Well, know that you're not buying into the whole process. That's where the customer wants to be. That's how they want to transact. And again, I think that just comes to mindset and trusting that this is where things are going, and it will work if you believe in it.
And I love that piece of just putting the information out there. Sometimes it's just a matter of showing up, and kind of what we were talking about before, like it's consistent with the experience we have as consumers in other industries. If
Sure.
I want to research a product, I can find every piece of where everything came from, where it was manufactured, who's distributing it, every information, reviews, up and down. And it's almost like just showing up is just step one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, in talking with our retailers, some of the fear is that that disconnect or that loss of relationship with the customer. And I see that. I get it. Coming from that retail space, having that customer interaction, no differently than me today to our retailers, having that retailer interaction. They're our customer today. I get that, but it just gives you new opportunities to have a new kind of relationship with that customer. It doesn't take it away.
I think it's a different relationship. And so you end up, how do you, through when you have those opportunities to express kind of that personal interaction, how can you capitalize on those and use whatever research, whatever work the customer's already done? How do you give them credit for that work and use it to kind of accelerate the in-person conversation and make it more impactful for the retailer and for the consumer as well? Yeah, great thoughts. TJ.
Yeah, definitely.
So, any kind of pivoting just a little bit to yourself, maybe you've had a career arc from kind of the front lines of retail into the brand side and the financial side. What has been kind of maybe key to your own success as you potentially reflect back on yourself? Anything you can share, personally?
Yeah. Oh, you're going to put me on the spot like that. So
that's right.
The biggest thing for me, and one of the key pieces that I look for anybody joining our team, you have to have that retail experience. You just have to. It's so integral to understanding what our retailers go through on a day-to-day basis. It is a grind. We have our own grind in the corporate world, but that hand-to-hand combat with the customers, and I say that lightly, is so important. Knowing what they have been through, knowing what they go through on a day-to-day basis, knowing some of those hurdles, helps us navigate those waters. And again, I transitioned from retail to the corporate world. That was realizing that I understand what you go through. I understand what happens on to my current role today, and I never want to lose sight of that retailer interaction. It's too important.
Well, the dealers value that tremendously, right? When you can get and when they know that they've got an ally and somebody that's kind of been through it, been in their shoes, I think it helps them as you help guide and provide perspective and bring value, more importantly, to their business. So, Danny, before we let TJ get out of here, any other questions from your thoughts?
I think it's been great talking to you, TJ. I guess the last question I have would be, from your perspective, anything that dealers could be doing today when we talk about kind of the evolution, the mindset, understanding where customers are at. Say I'm early in the bell curve. What's step one for me in shifting my mindset?
It really comes down to getting everybody involved. Be open to opinions, suggestions, ideas. My team takes the approach that we don't know everything. We don't claim to know everything. But if we put all of our heads together, we can work through a good process. So many of my team members have brought in and engaged different vendors into the process to help fix a need within the dealership. But really that's what it comes down to, is get all the players in the room, from your captive finance source to your OEM partner, your market team, to the management team at your dealership. Figure out what is the problem you're trying to solve and start brainstorming. It's amazing some of the ideas you come up with. We do that and engage the team internally. And I'm blown away by my team with some of the ideas they come up with that I would never have thought of. And that's just because they're on the front lines every single day interacting with our retailers. And that helps keep me grounded. But that's the same thing for our retailers, is just get everybody in the room, start brainstorming on what do we want to have happen in the future? How do we want that customer interaction? And then start brainstorming and try to solve for those ideas. The more people you can welcome into that process, and get their feedback, not necessarily use it or not, but have them be part of the process, the more successful you'll be.
Well, I think be open-minded and value others' perspectives is probably a good way to put a bow on this conversation. TJ, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, no, if you're interested in connecting with TJ, I know you're on LinkedIn. We'll make sure to link to you in our comment section.
Sure.
And, be sure to like this podcast and share it with your friends, and we'd be appreciated.